guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be reviewing Captain Marvel, the movie. I just got back from seeing it, and I've got to say, I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed this movie, actually. It's not as fresh in my brain, so I don't really know what to say necessarily, but I really like this movie a lot. I guess we'll talk about the characters. There will be spoilers in this video, clarifying that. But I guess for, the non-spoiler half of this video, this is obviously my personal opinion, so I don't know if you would, enjoy it as much as I did. But, I really enjoyed it. I think the first little bit of the movie was kind of boring. It was just a lot of, boringness, I guess. It was just kind of a lot of stuff, with, Carol on the ship and all the, her and the Kree, and the Kree stuff was kind of boring, but it got more interesting when they went to Earth and then combined the space stuff with Earth sort of things, and it got more fun then. Which is kind of what you need to do with a movie like this. You need to have it be fun, and the movie does get pretty fun, actually. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, pleasantly surprised. I do not agree with any of the people who are saying that she's, was miscast, or she's really boring. I mean, she does kind of talk like this a lot, but that's just kind of her character. So I think that's just the way they try to present the character, and I don't think it's anything to do with the performance. I think she's a pretty fun character. She is pretty funny, and I enjoyed the character of Captain Marvel. I really liked all the characters. I like Ben Mendelsohn as the villain, the Skrull Talos. I thought it was Talos, but in the movie they call him Talos. So I guess it's Talos. I really liked him a lot as well. I thought he was a very entertaining character, and it turned out that, once again, spoiler alert, the Skrulls were actually just veterans, and the Kree were actually, the villains the whole time. They don't really specify if the Kree were really villains. They just kind of say, it's a little cliche, they're just kind of we were good guys the whole time, and, the Kree were evil. It's but that's just your side of the argument. What if the Kree were, not really doing anything evil necessarily? If you're not evil, then why did you come to Earth and strangle Nick Fury in a car pretending to be Phil Coulson? They injure Nick Fury, and then Talos just comes down and he's like, hey, we're friends, hooray, and it's but Nick Fury, there should have been a moment where Nick Fury's oh, sorry for, cutting open one of your guys. There's a little moment where he's may you go to, heaven or something. He's saying that to one of his men, but I'm so they, surgically, ripped open one of your guys, but why did you attack Nick Fury? If, why were they there? Correct me, but, why were they there? Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I'm a little bit tired, but they were there for the hyperspace engine or whatever, right? They wanted to destroy the Tesseract or whatever, so they went to Earth to find the Tesseract or the engine or whatever it was, but Carol's signature matched that of the engine, so they got those two confused, and then they figure out what they need to do. Am I mistaken? But why did they attack Nick Fury? What did Nick Fury have to do with any of it? So they attacked Nick Fury, so they're totally cool with Nick Fury killing one of their guys, but if they're just there to look for this thing, then why are they attacking people? Why did they attack Nick Fury? Nick Fury should be hey man, why'd you strangle me in a car, and, we ended up in an accident. So, there should be anger from both sides. Talos should be hey man, you surgically ripped open one of my guys, but Nick Fury should be well, you had, strangled me in my car. Why did they attack him? That makes no sense. Now that I actually think about that. But I did really enjoy it. I liked when she, got her powers at the end. There were some actually pretty, good emotional moments, when, is Monica her daughter? Is it Maria Rambeau? And she's you're the most, tough person I met, and that's before you had glowy hands, and it was a pretty nice emotional moment, and also when Talos is telling his whole thing, There were some good emotional moments, and I think Brie Larson actually did a good job. I think she actually did a good job in those emotional moments. So yeah, I actually think Brie Larson did a pretty good job. You can tell, in some scenes, her performance feels a little bit held back, but overall, I think she did a pretty good job. The cat. Okay, yeah. I guess we'll talk about a few more negatives. Nick Fury, the way he loses his eye, they tease it early on. They have the Skrull come into his car, and then they get in the accident, and then he injures his eye. But why? So once again, the Skrulls went to Earth to find the engine or whatever, which is the Tesseract. That you find out. And you find out that that's why it's called the Tesseract, is because in like Marvel's research, she called it the Tesseract, and that's why it's called the Tesseract in the original, and that's why Nick Fury calls it the Tesseract. So we all thought that in Captain America: The First Avenger, it fell into the ocean, and then the Shield found it. But somewhere in between there, the Kree got a hold of it. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, "Where's the Tesseract?" But then in the post-credit scene, the very last post-credit scene, you find out Goose the Flurkin just coughs it up on Nick Fury's desk. So that's how they come back into possession of it. But how did the Tesseract? Because I thought they said, because in Captain America: The First Avenger, Howard Stark pulls it out of the ocean at the end. So when did the Kree come into possession of it? I'm a little confused by that. But then I really liked at the end of the movie when Nick Fury, Carol leaves, and then on the side he's like looking at his desktop, and it says like the Protector Initiative or whatever, and then he's like, I need to change this, and then he's like, and then Coulson's like, what do you want to do? He's like, I think we need to find more of them. More like her, more heroes. And then he's like, I'm sorry, that was a terrible Nick Fury impression. And then he's like, I think we should call it the Avengers Initiative. He doesn't say that, but then you just see him like typing on the computer. He backspaces out Protector because he looks at a picture of Carol, and on the side of her plane it says like something Avenger, and then he's like, and then he renames it the Avenger Initiative, and you hear, oh, that was great. That was really nice. I think that's really cool. So that's why Nick Fury is like, hey, you think you're the only superhero out there, Mr. Tony Stark? You know, so it makes sense. She is what drove him to find more of the Avengers-type heroes. So I really love that. So yeah, I don't really understand the whole Tesseract thing. Like, explain to me in the comments if I'm wrong. Ronan also is completely wasted in this movie. Like, Ronan, he appears... I don't know if they de-aged him, but it was Lee Pace from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. He was the villain. And then Korath, one of those guys, he is one of the Kree Star Force characters that worked with Carol when they turn out that they're villains the whole time. So those two characters reappear, but Ronan literally had no purpose. Like, he appears up in, like, as, like, a hologram, like Emperor Palpatine. He's like, I want to blow stuff up. And then they're like, no, don't do it yet. And then eventually, like, what's his name? Jude Law's character. Aurelius Dumbledore. No, I'm just joking. What was his name? Jan Rog. And he's like, okay, actually, Ronan, we need you. Can you come in? He's like, okay, sure. And then he brings in, like, a spaceship, and he has, like, a million, like, rocket missiles, and then Carol stops one, throws it around, and blows up all the other ones. That had no point, except to have, like, a Jesus reference with, like, Carol making a big pose, and just to have a cool, fun battle at the end where Carol's blowing a bunch of stuff up, to have some cool explosions, and a big, fun, final action scene. And then he's just like, we'll be back for the Tesseract, for the girl, and then they just, like, fly away. It's like, yeah, well, great, we know that doesn't happen, because they never find Carol again. But, yeah, I don't know, that was kind of weird. Once again, I liked all the characters. I think they all gave a really good performance. I loved Samuel L. Jackson's young Nick Fury. The de-aging effects on him and Clark Gregg as Phil Coulson were great. Yeah, so those de-aging effects were really great. I'm sorry if I keep kind of popping out. It's because I'm clicking on my radio to keep replaying the themes from the movie. But yeah, I really love those characters. They were very entertaining, and the back and forth between him and Carol were great. And then I loved when they were trying to escape from the record room, and then Coulson's there, and then he doesn't tell them where... And I'm pretty sure that was Hill, right? Agent Maria Hill, who kind of showed up. I think you saw her face for like a second, but she kind of looked Asian? I don't know. I don't know if that's bad casting, or if that was just like, I don't know. She was like on screen barely, and then you just kind of hear her off screen a few times. But then Nick Fury explains that Coulson is the new guy, so that's kind of interesting. So Coulson didn't turn him in, so that holds up to be the Coulson that we know and love. I think Coulson, he was in it enough, and I don't think he needed to be in it more. He didn't really. They spend more time on developing these new characters like the Monica and Maria Rambeau and Talos and Carol herself. They spend more time on developing the new characters, which is what they should do in a movie like this, instead of spending it on old characters. So I think that the old characters didn't need to do too much, and they didn't do too much, and I think they were used in the way that they should be. And then, like, Nick Fury didn't really have any purpose there. He just kind of, like, was there, and then he went up into space at the end, but he had no purpose, except for the one part where the Skrullers are, like, scanning the Flurkin, and they're like, species, Flurkin, threat, high, or no, the Kree are, like, scanning him, and then they're like, Flurkin, threat, high, species, human, male, threat, near to none. And he's like, oh man, that thing is definitely broken. But then a really annoying thing to me, which was the way he lost his eye, is just the cat. So he picks up Goose at the end, the cat gets mad, and then scratches his eye out. And then they're like, oh, is your eye okay? Oh yeah, it's fine. No, it's not. Like, it's like, what? Like, he just gets his eye scratched out? Like, what happened to, the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye? Like, what happened to that? Like, so he trusted the cat, and then the cat scratched his eye out? Like, I thought it was gonna be something more. Like, even having, like, in the midst of battle or something, but it just makes him seem so much, like, less cool. Like, he's just like, and then Coulson is like, so what happened to your eye? And he's like, I will not elaborate on that topic. And it's just like, he's defending this stupid incident, and I'm like, but he's supposed to be so cool, and it's supposed to be this mystery, but it's, oh, it was scratched out by a cat. Are you kidding me? That was really lame to me. I was really disappointed that was the way he lost his eye. Like, I thought it was going to be Goose, but I thought it would be in a more dire situation than just the cat gets annoyed and scratches his eye out. Like, what happened to last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye? I don't know, that just really decreases that for me. So I already talked about the second post-credit scene, but let's talk about the first one. So basically, it cuts to current time. You see Nick Fury's pager from the Avengers Infinity War post-credit scene, and it turns off all of a sudden, and then you see Steve Rogers, Captain America, with his beard. So it's obviously immediately after Infinity War. They've probably just left Wakanda, got back to New York, probably found the pager on the road. They plugged it in. It turns off. Steve and Natasha are looking at the population, the missing population growing, and he's like, this is a nightmare. And Natasha says, I've had better nightmares. Rhodey walks in and says, guys, it just stopped doing whatever it was doing, and it's turned off. So they're like, okay, we need to boot this thing back up, and they're like, it's still hooked up, it just stopped. And then Banner's like, we don't even know what this thing is, and Natasha's like, Fury did, and I want this thing booted back up, and I want to find out who's on the other side. And then she turns around, Carol's standing there, and she's like, where's Fury? And then it ends. So that was pretty intriguing there. So we see in the post-credit scene of Avengers Infinity War that it's sending, and then the Captain Marvel logo appears. So I'm pretty sure what happened there is that the message was already sent, and in the time that it took for the Avengers to get back to hook it up, Carol was on her way, and then she appeared at the Avengers base. I assume she went through the walls, because we see her walk through a door earlier in the movie. She says, only for emergency situations, and the emergency situation is 50% of all living creatures disappearing. That was the emergency situation. I mean, I think that's a pretty valid emergency situation. But she's got longer hair, she's got more gold on her suit, and it's been a while, so she's back, and I assume that'll be an actual scene in Endgame. So in all the trailers that we've seen, like the Avengers walking out on the field, and there's that large gap between Rhodey and Bruce, which I didn't think was that unnatural, and then them walking in the road, not us, in the TV spot. I think they've CGI'd out Captain Marvel. I didn't think it looked that weird, but they've probably mashed out Carol Danvers in there, and she appears, I assume, very early in the film. So if you remember, it's similar to Ant-Man, where the second post-credit scene for the first Ant-Man was actually a scene from Captain America Civil War, with Falcon being like, you know, I know a guy, you know? So, obviously, it's kind of like that. and they're going for that sort of thing where they're actually showing a scene. But in the movie, it was slightly altered. So I think with this movie, it'll also be slightly altered, just like Captain America: Civil War in the Ant-Man post-credit scene. But yeah, I think this movie was really good. There's some disappointing elements. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I know that this review's short, but everyone's talked about this movie, but I just wanted to share my opinion. My opinion is I really enjoyed the film. I have some issues, like I think Nick Fury's eye getting gouged out by the cat was just really disappointing, and it could have been done in a better way. It just felt very anticlimactic, and it made him seem like less of a cool character. There's some plot holes and weird things, but overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it a lot more than other people. I think Brie Larson actually is a really good fit for Captain Marvel. She may have a little bit of, like, she may kind of talk like this a lot, but I think she's a really cool character, and I can't wait to see her back in Avengers Endgame. I liked her a lot more than other people are saying. I think she's really funny. I liked basically all the characters, and I think that Phil Coulson and Maria Hill and some of those characters not being in it as much as some people say they could have been wasn't a problem, because they needed to develop these new characters like Jan Rog, Maria Rambeau, Monica Rambeau, Carol, and the villains, the Skrulls, who were actually not the villains. So they needed time to develop this new story for people who aren't fans of the comics, and for other people who are fans of the MCU. They would already know these characters, so they didn't really need to develop them. So that didn't really bother me. But yeah, I really enjoyed Captain Marvel, guys. I think it was a really fun movie, and I found a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I'm going to give it a B or a B+. Probably B. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a B. It's not the best MCU movie. There's definitely been better. But I don't think it's one of the worst either. It's probably like kind of a middle movie. But I still really like Captain Marvel. It's not one I can see myself rewatching too much. But I definitely recommend you check it out and make up your own opinion. This is one of those divisive Marvel movies where it's like you gotta go and you gotta make up your own opinion. And I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it was a very thoroughly enjoyable film. And I think it was a pretty good movie, too. So I'm going to give Captain Marvel a B. You guys let me know what you think of Captain Marvel if you've seen it, and if you're planning on going to see it, because I definitely actually recommend you see it and make up your own opinion on it. I personally really enjoyed it. So I'm going to give Captain Marvel a B. You guys let me know what you thought of Captain Marvel if you've seen it, and if you plan on going to see it in the comments. And I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.